Imagine this, you're standing there, phone in hand, staring at the screen. You sent her a message hours ago, maybe even yesterday. Nothing, no reply. Or maybe she did reply, but it was short, cold, and vague. Now you're stuck in that hellish loop of questions. Is she shy? Is she just nervous around you? Or is she quietly telling you she's not interested, hoping you'll take the hint so she doesn't have to say the words out loud? Every man has been there, trapped between the possibility of hope and the weight of rejection. And here's the brutal truth: if you don't learn to read the difference fast, you'll waste weeks, months, even years chasing someone who already made her decision. Shy women and women rejecting you can look almost identical at first glance. Both can avoid eye contact. Both can hesitate with responses. Both can seem distant in the beginning. But the reasons behind those behaviors couldn't be more different. A shy woman is restrained because she fears judgment. A woman who doesn't want you is restrained because she's already judged you. One is hesitation because she cares too much about how you'll see her. The other is hesitation because she doesn't care enough to even bother. Think about the last time you convinced yourself she was just shy. You told yourself she didn't reply because she was nervous. You excused the one-word answers, the delayed replies, the last-minute cancellations. You gave her the benefit of the doubt again and again, all while ignoring the tightening knot in your chest. That's what men do when they don't want to face rejection. You turn a silence into mystery instead of what it is, disinterest. And that's how you get trapped, slowly bleeding your energy into someone who's already walked away in her mind. But here's where the game gets cruel. Some women know exactly what they're doing. They're not shy, but they'll let you think they are. Why? Because it keeps you hanging. It keeps you investing. It buys them attention, validation, and emotional power without the commitment. They'll drop a breadcrumb every now and then, a smile, a late-night text, a compliment just enough to keep you hoping. And you, desperate for clarity, will interpret it as a sign of shyness, when in reality, it's just her keeping you as a backup option. You need to spot the difference, and you need to do it fast. A shy woman will show her interest in small, consistent ways. Maybe she doesn't speak much, but she lingers around you. Maybe her texts are short, but she always answers eventually, and she asks little questions about you. A rejecting woman gives you nothing but excuses. Her presence feels like absence. When you pull back, she doesn't chase, she vanishes. That's how you know. Here's the tactical application: stop rewarding confusion. If she's shy, your slight withdrawal will draw her out. She'll find subtle ways to meet you halfway, because interest, no matter how quiet, finds expression. But if she's rejecting you, your withdrawal will expose her. She won't fight to keep you. She'll just let you go, and you'll realize she already had. The trick is not to overinvest in figuring it out. You don't chase. You create the conditions where her real interest has to reveal itself, or her lack of it does. Most men make the same mistake. They double down when they feel a woman pulling away. They text more, plan harder, push for closeness. That's the death sentence. Because if she's rejecting you, you just become background noise she wishes she could mute. And if she's shy, your pressure makes her retreat even deeper into her shell. Either way, you lose. The solution is to step back and let her energy come forward. You don't fix the silence. You use it to test whether she cares enough to break it. This isn't about playing games. It's about protecting yourself from wasting your life on someone who's already gone. The hardest part is letting go of the fantasy. You want to believe she's shy because that means there's still a chance. But here's the question you need to face. Why are you chasing a woman who makes you guess at her feelings? A woman who truly wants you won't leave you drowning in doubt. Her shyness will still glow with small signals of warmth. Her rejection will be cold, hollow, and one-sided. Once you feel that emptiness, you stop trying to fill it. So here's your reality check if she keeps you guessing for weeks. If every interaction feels like pulling teeth, if you feel more drained than energized, it's not shyness, it's rejection. Cut it off, because every second you spend trying to decode her is a second you steal from yourself, from the life you could be living, from the woman who would never make you question if you mattered. That's the truth you have to face, even if it stings. Have you ever convinced yourself a woman was just shy, when deep down you knew she wasn't interested? How much time did you lose before you finally admitted it? And when you pulled back, did she move closer, or did she disappear without a word? Be honest in the comments. Some women are shy. They get nervous around men they like. Their hands fidget, their voice softens, their eyes dart away because the intensity of attraction overwhelms them. But here's the paradox you need to understand. Even the shyest woman finds a way to show you she cares. She may not say it boldly, but she leaves a trail. She'll reply, even if slowly. She'll laugh awkwardly at your jokes. She'll linger when you're around instead of rushing to leave. The signs are small, but they exist, because genuine interest always leaks out, no matter how shy someone is. Now contrast that with rejection dressed up as silence. The woman who doesn't want you won't create any openings. She doesn't fumble nervously. She doesn't secretly hope you'll notice her. Instead, she creates distance. She cancels plans without rescheduling. She ignores messages for days and returns with flat replies that shut down the conversation. She gives you nothing to hold on to, but because you want her, you take that emptiness and paint it as shyness. You invent meaning where there is none. That is the trap. Think about how this plays out in real life. You text her late at night. Hours pass. Then she responds with a dry lol or okay. You replay that message 100 times in your head, convincing yourself she's just cautious, maybe shy about expressing herself. But tell me, when was the last time you were excited about someone and answered them with okay? You'd engage, even awkwardly, because you wanted the connection. That's the difference. You've got to stop ignoring. Here's where most men sabotage themselves. They confuse effort with strategy. They think, if I just keep showing her I care, she'll warm up. That works on a shy girl who's interested. Right, wrong. You don't pull someone out of shyness with pressure. You make her feel safe by pulling back, by giving her space to come forward at her own pace. If she likes you, she will. And if she doesn't, she'll vanish. Which saves you from months of wasted pursuit. This is the tactical move when her energy is unclear. Don't match it with more energy. Mirror it. If she's hesitant, you step back. Not as punishment, not as a test in the childish sense, but as clarity. You make room for her to reveal her true position. That's how you separate shy from rejecting fast. A shy woman will step into the space you leave, however timidly. A rejecting woman will walk away and never look back. That's how you find the truth without losing your dignity. It takes discipline because your emotions will scream at you to chase. You'll feel the anxiety rise when she pulls away, and your instinct will be to fix it, to send another message, to ask what's wrong, to beg for reassurance. That's how men kill attraction. That's how you hand over all your power. You have to resist. You have to sit in the silence and let her actions speak louder than her words. Because silence is always an answer. It's just not the answer you want. And let me say this plainly, women know the effect of their silence. They know when they're keeping you dangling. Some use it deliberately. Withdrawal is a form of control. When she pulls back and you scramble to win her attention again, she learns she can rule your emotions with absence. That's not shyness. That's manipulation. And the only way to break it is indifference. When she withdraws, you don't chase, you match her distance. You show her that her silence doesn't control you, and that's when the truth comes out. Because here's the psychology: a woman who's truly shy but interested doesn't want to lose her chance. If you step back, her fear of judgment will battle against her desire to connect. And desire wins. She'll find some little way to reach back toward you. It might not be dramatic, but it'll be there. A woman rejecting you, though she'll breathe a sigh of relief when you stop trying. She'll let the connection die because she never wanted it to live. That's how you know. This is the cost of not learning the difference: wasted years, broken self-worth, and the slow erosion of your confidence. Every time you pour yourself into someone who isn't interested, you teach yourself that your effort means nothing. You make rejection a habit. You normalize chasing ghosts. And by the time you realize it, you're drained, resentful, and lost. That's why this matters. Not just to save you time, but to save you from losing the core of who you are. So let me ask you this: how many times have you mistaken silence for shyness? How many times have you told yourself she's just nervous while ignoring the coldness in her eyes? And when you finally walked away, didn't you realize she was never shy at all? She just didn't want you. Share your story. Call yourself out. Picture this: you're sitting across from her at a coffee shop. You're leaning forward, asking questions, carrying the weight of the entire conversation. She smiles politely, gives short answers, checks her phone every few minutes. You tell yourself she's shy. You convince yourself she just needs time to open up. But hours later, when you replay that scene, the truth gnaws at you. She wasn't shy. She was uninterested. And you mistook her boredom for timidity because facing rejection felt more painful than lying to yourself. That's the brutal reality most men live in, mistaking a woman's lack of enthusiasm for shyness so they can keep chasing a fantasy. Shyness and rejection don't just look similar. They feel similar when you're in the middle of it. The silence, the hesitation, the lack of eye contact, it all blends together. But here's the subtle difference. A shy woman's silence is heavy with tension. She wants to connect, but she holds herself back. When you give her space, she eventually sends a signal. Maybe it's a soft smile. Maybe it's a delayed but thoughtful message. Maybe it's her showing up even when she looks nervous. A rejecting woman's silence is hollow. There's no tension behind it. No hidden spark waiting to be released. It's absence pretending to be mystery. The reason this works on you is because of your ego. You don't want to admit she's not into you, so you give her the benefit of the doubt. You tell yourself a story that protects your pride. She's just shy. That story buys you temporary relief, but it costs you time, energy, and dignity. Every day you invest in her silence. You dig yourself deeper into an emotional debt that will never be repaid. You start rationalizing her neglect. You start begging for crumbs of attention, all while ignoring the obvious: she doesn't want you, and she never did. The truth is, women rarely confuse shyness with rejection themselves. They know exactly when they're into a man, and they know exactly when they're not. Their behavior shows it, if you're willing to see. Shy or not, a woman who likes you finds a way. She may not be smooth, she may not be bold, but she'll keep showing up. She'll accept your invitations. She'll engage in conversation. She'll try in her own imperfect way. Interest always finds expression. Rejection always hides behind excuses. That's the line you have to learn to see. So what do you do when you're stuck in the gray area? When you can't tell if it's shyness or disinterest? You stop filling the silence for her. You stop carrying the weight. You let the space exist. That's the tactical move most men are too afraid to make. You mirror her energy. If she gives little, you give little. If she delays, you delay. not out of spite, but out of clarity, because when you stop covering for her lack of effort, the truth becomes undeniable. A shy woman will feel the gap and try to close it. A rejecting woman will take the opening to disappear. Either way, you win, you get the answer without begging for it. This requires you to master something most men avoid: indifference. Indifference doesn't mean you don't care about women. It means you don't attach your worth to their response. It means you can walk away without resentment if the energy isn't mutual. It means you stop negotiating for scraps and start demanding reciprocity. That's power. That's how you protect yourself in the emotional battlefield of modern dating. Because here's the hard truth: if you can't stomach walking away, you'll always be manipulated by silence. Withdrawal is one of the oldest forms of emotional control. When she withholds attention, she's forcing you to chase. She's making you work harder for less. The more you chase, the less she respects you. And before you know it, you're not pursuing love, you're performing for validation. That's not attraction, that's slavery. And the only way out is to detach, to meet her absence with your own. The moment you stop dancing for her attention, the spell breaks. If she's truly shy but interested, she'll reveal herself. If she's rejecting you, she'll let you go. Either way, you get free. Think about the cost if you don't. Think about the nights you've wasted staring at your phone, waiting for her to reply. Think about the humiliating effort of writing paragraphs only to get a 2-word answer. Think about the way your self-esteem crumbled, piece by piece, every time she left you hanging. That's what you pay when you can't tell the difference. That's why you must learn to see it clearly, not for her, but for you. Because the man who keeps mistaking rejection for shyness is the man who slowly kills his own confidence with denial. So tell me, when was the last time you filled in the blanks for her? When was the last time you convinced yourself her coldness was just nerves? And what did it cost you in time, pride, and sanity before you finally admitted the truth? Share it. Expose yourself. Have you noticed how much of your energy is spent trying to interpret signals that should be obvious? You wait on her reply like it's a lifeline, analyzing the timing, the tone, the number of emojis. You replay conversations in your head, searching for hidden meaning in her pauses. You give yourself headaches trying to decode what she really meant. But here's the harsh truth: a woman who is genuinely interested in you doesn't leave you stranded in doubt. Shy or not, she will make sure you know she values your presence. The moment you find yourself doing detective work just to feel secure, you've already lost the frame. The frame is everything. The man who owns the frame decides the emotional reality of the interaction. When you chase clarity from a woman who's withholding, you surrender that frame. You let her dictate the tempo, the mood, and the value of the connection, and she feels it. Women are incredibly sensitive to energy. If she feels you desperate for answers, she knows she can afford to give you nothing and still keep you hooked. That is not shyness. That is power dynamics at play, and you're the one losing. The cost is not just time wasted, it's identity eroded. Every unanswered text chips away at your self-respect. Every excuse you swallow teaches you to accept less than you deserve. Over time, you stop being a man who expects reciprocity and become a man who begs for scraps. And once you cross that line, it's nearly impossible to command respect from her or from yourself. That's why this is not just about spotting shyness versus rejection. It's about survival of your masculine core. So what's the battlefield tactic here? Stop playing her interpreter. Stop doing the emotional labor of guessing her intent. If she's shy and interested, she'll still show consistent signs she'll respond eventually. She'll accept time together even if nervously. She'll make small efforts that reveal care. If she's rejecting you, she won't. That's the test. You create clarity by pulling back, not by chasing harder. When she gives little, you mirror it. When she goes cold, you let the silence stand. Your power comes from refusing to fill the gap she creates. It will feel brutal at first. Your chest will tighten when she leaves your messages hanging. Your mind will scream at you to send another, to just check in. That is your weakness talking. That's the voice of a man afraid of losing an illusion. But here's the shift when you resist that urge. When you let the silence breathe, you expose the truth. If she wants you, she will break the silence. If she doesn't, she'll vanish. And either way, you win, because you get clarity without betraying your self-respect. This is also where women's manipulation reveals itself. Some will deliberately blur the line between shyness and rejection. They know if they keep you uncertain, they can extract your attention indefinitely. They won't tell you they're not interested because they enjoy the orbit of your energy. They like being the center of your focus while giving nothing back. That's why you must refuse to live in ambiguity. Ambiguity is where you're exploited. Clarity, even painful clarity, is where you regain power. Detachment is your weapon. Detachment doesn't mean coldness. It doesn't mean bitterness. It means the refusal to be enslaved by her response. It means you can enjoy a woman's attention but not collapse when it's withheld. It means your identity is rooted in who you are, not in how quickly she texts back. That's the mindset of a man women respect, shy or not. Because women test men's center constantly. If your world falls apart because she's slow to reply, you've already failed the test. And remember, this rejection is not a threat. It's a filter. Every time a woman pulls back and shows disinterest, she's doing you a favor. She's filtering herself out so you can redirect your energy to someone who genuinely wants you. But if you cling to rejection disguised as shyness, you block yourself from ever meeting that woman. You stay locked in limbo, feeding your ego with false hope while your life slips by. So let's cut the excuses. How many times have you mistaken manipulation for shyness because you couldn't bear to walk away? How many months did you waste waiting for her to open up, only to realize she never would? And what would your life look like right now if you had walked away the first time she gave you nothing? Answer that honestly. There's a reason this lesson feels like a punch to the gut. Because deep down, you already knew. You knew she wasn't shy when she let your calls go unanswered, but somehow had time to post stories online. You knew she wasn't shy when she gave you vague excuses about being busy, only to laugh freely with other guys. You knew she wasn't shy when you were the only one carrying the weight of every interaction, while she stood there like a ghost. But you lied to yourself because admitting rejection stung more than pretending there was hope. That's the game you've been playing against yourself and losing. Shy women don't disappear when you show interest. They may hesitate, but they hold on. They may blush, stumble over words, or need time, but they stay in the orbit. Rejection, on the other hand, is defined by absence, by coldness, by the lack of reciprocity. The faster you learn to stop confusing the two, the faster you stop bleeding energy into women who don't want you. Now let's talk about what this costs you on a psychological level. Every time you pour into a woman who's rejecting you, you teach yourself a damaging lesson that your love must be earned through suffering. You condition yourself to equate desire with pain. You train your nervous system to crave the chase, the anxiety, the doubt, and soon, you're no longer looking for love, you're looking for the high of proving yourself to someone who never cared. That's how men get addicted to unavailable women. That's how they lose years of their lives chasing shadows. You must break the cycle. And the only way to break it is with discipline. The moment you sense you're doing all the work, you stop. Not tomorrow. Not after she gives you one more breadcrumb. You stop now. Because the man who stops early protects his time, his energy, and his dignity. The man who keeps pushing ends up drained, bitter, and hollow. And by the time he finally lets go, he's not the same man anymore. He's smaller, weaker, more afraid. Here's the tactic that saves you, mirror. Don't chase. If she delays, you delay. If she cancels, you don't reschedule. If she disappears, you don't go looking. You hold the frame. You let her effort match yours. That's how you separate interest from rejection without wasting time. Because a woman who's shy but interested will find her way back, however small. And a woman who's rejecting you will vanish. And that's your freedom, not your loss. Do not underestimate the power of indifference. Indifference is magnetic. When you're indifferent to her withdrawal, you communicate one message. My life doesn't hinge on you. And that message does two things. It scares off the ones who never cared, and it pulls closer the ones who did. Because women are drawn to men who can walk away, not because they want to be abandoned, but because they respect a man who respects himself more than he worships them. You need to ask yourself, how many hours have you wasted staring at your phone, dissecting silence? How many women have you allowed to live rent-free in your head while they gave you nothing? And how much of your strength has been drained by refusing to face the simple truth that she wasn't shy? She was rejecting you. Those are the losses you carry. That's the tax you pay for denial. But here's the shift: once you accept reality without flinching, you regain your power. Rejection no longer humiliates you, it liberates you. Silence no longer haunts you, it clarifies. You stop needing her response to feel whole. You start treating women's behavior as information, not judgment. And suddenly, you're free to invest only where your energy is returned. That is how you win the emotional war of modern dating, not by decoding every pause, but by refusing to chase ghosts. So let me ask you, what's harder for you, admitting she's rejecting you, or admitting you wasted months pretending she wasn't? Which pain have you been carrying longer? The sting of rejection, or the shame of self-deception? And what would it feel like to finally cut the rope? To stop carrying someone who never carried you back? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.